All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Before we get started, let's do a quick round of intros. And as part of that, please feel free to share any new skill you've learned during your time working from home. Just enter that right into the chat box. And so I'll go first. My name is Maria LaBrutto. I am a strategic customer success manager here at Amplitude. And one of the new skills I've learned, probably millions of others, is how to bake banana bread. But in my case, I'm doing it with a 3.5-year-old who just wants to dip his fingers into the batter. Hopefully that's not the case for my guest today, with whom I have the pleasure of introducing, Miguel Navarro from TD Bank.
Cool, thanks for that, Maria. My name is Miguel Navarro. I'm the US head of voice and emerging platforms for TD Bank. And really what that means is I get to play with the fun stuff, right? So one of the skills that I've picked up during COVID is really expanding on my fashion sense. So I get to match my sports coat with my very formal jogging pants. I think that's pretty awesome.
Well, great. Thank you so much for that intro. It sounds like you've mastered the mullet of fashion, so to speak. Business on top and sporty on the bottom. I wonder how the other folks will admit that in the chat box as well. And besides getting some of the great fashion advice shared with us, Miguel, we're really excited to have you here today to learn about how you're using real-time customer interactions in the mobile app and using that to help guide your product decisions. Miguel, can you share a little bit about how the US digital platforms have adapted to the customer needs?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Maria, I know that you've been part of our growth, right? From, again, really when we all partnered up. And we've always started with strong data within TD Bank. We have a extremely strong, data analytics team that constantly support us every day. Actually, shout out to Nalin. But the one piece that we've kind of added on to that stack really is for us to receive real-time data. So having that real-time data has become really powerful for us to be able to, go through that real-time decisions, right? And one of the pieces that this kind of evolved into that I didn't really foresee in the beginning, but I'm extremely happy that it went that way, is now we've evolved into actionable real-time data. Because again, there's a difference between having real-time data versus real-time data that you can take action on. And I think that's one of the pieces that Amplitude has really helped us on. I would say, especially partnering up with, mParticle and Amplitude, one of the things that we were able to do is to be able to really take that, real-time data and perform an action, which I'll give an example later. So in today's time, unfortunately, we were all struck by COVID, right? As you can tell, obviously we're not having this conference in our normal, location, but one of the cool things about it is that we're still together. So just the same with TD Bank. I mean, we're a very human bank. We definitely think about our customers first. And one of the things that, really happened with us is we now have two streams of customers that's going on in TD Bank. Our digital customers, which we have that naturally adopt into digital, and then now we have this stream of customers where they were customers before with TD Bank, and some of our newer customers as well, that really have adopted to that physicality state of the bank and now being forced into doing digital. So this is actually the piece where it's really important for us to be able to differentiate that. And we're so happy that we have this tech stack that we have right now. Because in order for us to be able to identify those customer needs and also be able to act on it on real time, there's no really a better time for us to be able to test that tech stack and really see the elements of what the team can achieve, right? And really shout out to the voice and emerging team. That's Alina, Pina, Richard, Travis, Ali, and Catherine and Monique. Boom.
Thank you. I love that. And, I'll say on behalf of Amplitude, it's been great working with you, Miguel, and the team thus far. I'm very excited to see what else we'll be doing together throughout this year and the years to come. And so speaking of COVID, I heard you mention that. Can you share if and how your digital platform's product strategy has changed as a result of the new kind of circumstances we're all living in?
Yeah, absolutely. So to be perfectly honest, our strategy has not really changed because it's always been customer first. It's always been connecting those digital experiences together. So that has stayed the same, to be perfectly honest. I think the one piece that has changed is the expectation, right? So for the most part, especially with our ever-changing customer expectations, one of the things that we know that is a constant is that our customers want it right now, right? So no matter what it is, they want it fast and they want it right now. So our responsibility really as part of the voice and emerging platforms is make sure that we are able to identify those customer needs, meaning we have to be smarter with our data. And also at the same time, even be more than speed, but rather be, have velocity with every delivery that we have. And I choose my words carefully, and I say the word velocity is because velocity is not just speed, but it's speed with direction. And really, for the most part, I think within our digital leadership, that's really where our strategy has always been. One of the things that I would love to share is, again, one of the use cases that we've picked up on, right, during this time as well, is that, and I'm sure that's happened with a lot of different companies and businesses, is that their contact center or their phone channel or any way for a customer to provide input, that traffic has tremendously increased. I mean, if it hasn't, then maybe you don't have that many customers. But I mean, I'll tell you right now that ours definitely increased, and we wanted to be there for our customers. So based off of the constant strategy that we have anyway within digital, we wanted to make sure that, because again, just like what I mentioned before, there's now two levels of customers, right? We have our digital natural adopters, and then we have the digital kind of forced because of COVID. So we want, we wanted to make sure that when people go to that contact us page in the mobile app, that we were able to, really outside of being able to answer what they wanted to, what answer they'd want to get. We wanted to be able to almost in a very digital way, right? Almost hold their hand and be able to tell them, oh, things are going to be okay. So one of the things that, most companies have really done is, within the contact us page, they've let their customers know, hey, there's increased traffic in, our contact us page. So one of the things that we wanted to dig a little deeper on is really, okay, how do we as TD Bank, as a human-centric, customer-centric bank, how do we serve our customers during this time? So one of the things that our leadership almost challenged us on is that, hey, how do we become better? How do we do more for our customers? So one of the things that we did is we did everything through data, right? We stitched together everything that we can. We partnered up with all that we had. We picked up our digital data, the usage of the contact us page, and partnered up with the different channels within the bank, and found out that a lot of the phone calls or the answers that they would give in phone calls are really answers that are available, publicly within, either our different channels, really, right? So we've got, FAQ pages on our public side. We've got FAQ pieces on mobile. We have an Alexa skill. So we compiled all of those. And again, I've taken that context of the customer through the data that we have and understood that that funnel existed in the contact us page. So we created a chatbot within that contact us page, and then utilized all that data, really reused a lot of the FAQs that we already have, and make sure that we were able to serve it properly to our customers.
That's awesome. I know as a consumer, I really appreciate the detail that businesses are doubling down on for the kind of for the sake of creating a good customer first experience. I mean, that's really what we've seen be key. And just speaking about that, are there any other products that you've launched based on the customer behavior data that you're tracking today?
Yeah, we definitely launched quite a few initiatives, right, for COVID for our customers. And, again, really like the theme of it would be, as far as data goes, right, is being able to pick up that real-time data and create proactivity and reactivity. So one of the pieces that, especially around COVID, one of the pieces that we wanted to take into context is everything that's happening real time within the TD world and what's happening in the real world. So obviously in the real world, we're experiencing COVID and everyone's going through that. And within the TD space, we wanted to say, okay, how do we make this better and how do we support our base? So within the bank, obviously one of the things that they've done is they've provided reliefs, they've provided all these different programs for our customers. And as a digital platform, person who works within TD Bank, we wanted to be able to support those initiatives. And one of them really is, so I'll give you an example. One of them is the increase in mobile deposit limits. So one of the things that we were familiar with is that there would be stimulus checks coming in, and the bank wanted to make sure that folks would be able to deposit those stimulus checks if need be. So one of the things that we did is we were able to, again, working through real-time data, we were able to create a rule set as people were coming into the app to be able to show a interstitial that talks about, hey, you've received an increase in your mobile deposit limit. So they could be at calm, right, when they are trying to deposit that stimulus check. And again, we did that through a set of combination of things with mParticle, Amplitude, and our interstitial feed.
That's really interesting. I never knew I never thought about that actually before. So I really appreciate you sharing that story and the others about how you have been putting the customer first. And I do love the idea, and I know it's true that, TD Bank is kind of a human bank. And so we all love that about you guys. And so I know we have a few minutes left. I'd love to open up the floor for any questions. So please feel free to drop them into the chat bot on the left-hand side now of your screen. And we look forward to answering some of those. Actually, I think, Miguel, we've got our first question already.
Nice.
So question from the audience. How do you shape your digital strategy? And I know we kind of spoke a little bit about what it is, but can you tell us how you shape it?
Yeah, so it's actually really interesting because for the most part, when it comes to digital strategy, and to tell you the truth, I can only really speak for the voice and emerging platforms, right? So, one of the things that we always look into the voice and emerging platforms, and it almost, it's a little different, right? Because in voice and emerging platforms, it's almost, we're looking at things that are happening now, but also pulling from almost like the future side of tech, because we're trying to pull in, again, voice, that's a chat bot and all of those things. So when we create our strategy, one of the things that we always try to look out for really are trends, right? That's happening within the voice and emerging stratosphere, if you may, within technology, and kind of looking into, and based off of data, right? Based off of how customers, not just TD Bank customers, but let's say smart speaker customers have adopted into the smart speaker space, and what usage have they done within that smart speaker space, et cetera, et cetera. And from there, one of the things that we do is we try to be that thread that connects all of those things to TD Bank use cases. And for the most part, especially within TD Bank, there's a lot of things that exist within TD Bank that, there are things that we'd like to do, but there isn't a way for us to do it yet. And then the way I really see our platform is being able to stitch those. So when it comes to strategy, really it's all about, impact, right? Again, being customer centric, how will it impact our customers? And, again, for the most part, also looking into, with all the emerging pieces that's happening, we don't want to, invest too much dollars on something that may be considered a shiny object. So again, this is actually where like data really comes into play. So we really love using those like data-driven, going data-driven when it comes to producing a lot of our things in voice and emerging.
Great, and thank you for that answer. Let's see what else we have from the audience. One moment.
Hey, Maria, I've got a question for you while we're waiting.
Sure.
Do you have any awesome plans for Memorial Day weekend?
I will say, so I'm just finishing up a 2-year extended home renovation. It was a
nice.
Yeah, it's a total gut renovation. What you see on HGTV is nothing like what you actually go through, especially here in New York City. I'm in Brooklyn, to be exact. And so we did pretty much the house. There's still some things to work on, but we're going to spend some time outdoors in the backyard because right now it's just a pile of dirt. So, so yeah, that's what we're going to do with the kids. All right, I think we got our next question here. So what is your opinion on digital first banks? I take this as maybe the allies of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually really funny because, for the most part, one of the things that we know, right, especially pre and post COVID, is that the world will not be the same post COVID. And I do think that one of the things that allowed certain businesses or even banks, right, to be able to function properly and also be able to test their platform is really that digital piece, right? So again, like for me, I have utmost respect for digital banks, and that's my personal opinion. I mean, digital first banks, I think if you think about it, they really just they don't have any physical space. It's so new age because it's, for the most part, a lot of people still want to be able to see that branding or be able to visit a store when they have problems and all of that. I think if anything, it provides what do you call that word? It almost like provides multiple options for customers to be able to really decide what type of level of personal interactivity would they want, right? And I think, as far as I'm concerned, the human element to me has really been important. And in my personal opinion, I do believe that a mixture of both, technology and that human function will always be in play no matter what. I don't think that, because even when you look at AI, right, like there's always a person trading the AI. I think it'll always be like that. And, for the most part, I have a ton of respect for digital first banks. I do think that, I would say maybe I'm completely wrong here, but, I think that for the most part, even they were affected by COVID, right? I mean, I don't think that, there would be, a business or institution that is not affected by COVID, but I would say that they might be the one affected the least because it's almost like status quo for them.
Got it. And I thank you for that. I know, speaking for myself, I've seen my behaviors kind of change in the way I bank. I traditionally would go and still deposit checks at the ATM. I don't know why. I knew there was like the mobile, snap a picture and deposit it. But as a result of COVID, I have actually now made that transition. But I do love having the option to still go to a branch and just have that opportunity to engage with people, while I can also take advantage when I'm, short on time, let's say, or don't want to go outside, I can, do that digital deposit. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I think having that option really, and I think that's kind of like the responsibility, of like different companies and being able to have diverse businesses and business types really helps. And, I think that's kind of what like America is, right? It's supposed to be this melting pot of different types of businesses. And I think having that digital first bank definitely helps on, different types of customer preferences, when it comes to banking. And yeah, just like you, I still visit, my branch and my store. It's, the way that I do things, especially when I have important things, when I want to ask about my mortgage or anything like that. And I know I'm going to have to talk to someone for an hour, it's that in-person thing. And I think that's one of the things that I do miss, especially during these times, is I still miss those in-person meetings, being able to high-five someone, with the job well done. But maybe I'll have to use my sanitizer after.
Fist bump now.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear on that. So just even thinking about it, I know things have started opening up a little bit. Do you have any plans in particular for Memorial Day?
No, to tell you the truth, we just opened our pool yesterday. So, I have, so my plan is to vacuum it out a bit because, I still have to clean it up a bit. But once that warm weather hits, man, cannonball.
Oh, I'm very jealous you have a pool. I have a kiddie pool, and I had my 3.5-year-old and 6-month-old in it last weekend when we had that beautiful weather. So I'm a little jealous. It sounds like you have an adult-sized pool. So maybe I'll work my way up to that once we get through this dirt in the backyard.
That's actually just a kiddie pool I dug up,
All right, I think we're waiting for another question. All right, one just came through. How have you driven discovery of your voice skills?
Oh, so that's actually really interesting. So, for the most part, our voice skills is really more on still kind of in pilot mode, right? So we haven't really, gone to that point yet. But obviously, we do have our strategy, which unfortunately I really wouldn't be able to share. But, one of the things that, I pivot this to is kind of, really look more into what the other companies have been doing. And I think one of the things that they have been doing well is that cross-promotion piece, right? Again, one of the things I've touched on earlier that we always have as part of our strategy is connected experiences. So being able to connect your platform, your digital platforms, whether it's online, wearable or whatever it is, I think being able to connect that and do cross-promotion within is a very powerful thing, because again, you'll always have features that is heavily used on one platform, but maybe a particular feature exists on one platform and not the other, right? So you need to be able to have those two talk or have three if, it's in several platforms. But I think that's one of the pieces where, again, for the most part, as far as discovery, when it comes to skills or functionalities within digital spaces, I think the cross, the almost that cross promotion that goes on within, really helps out. But then again, you can only really do that with, awesome data. Without that awesome data, again, you really wouldn't know where to drive.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for answering these questions. I know we're about to wrap up here, so I do want to encourage everyone, if there's still more questions that you'd like to ask Miguel, please enter those into the Slack, and he will be there to chat with you some more. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. Thank you again, Miguel.
Cool. Thank you, Maria.